from a Muslim jurist. We're told we just all got to get along. This multiculturalism, this multinationalism that will give rise to one world religion and one world government. But you're not listening to me right now. I want you to hear what this Muslim jurist has to say. Allah, there is no strength but your strength. Destroy, therefore, the Zionist occupation and its helpers and its agents. Destroy the United States and its helpers and its agents. Destroy Britain and its helpers and its agents. Prepare those who will soon unite the Muslims of the world and march in the footsteps of Saladin. Allah, we ask you for forgiveness. Forgiveness before death and mercy and forgiveness after death. Allah, grant victory to Islam and the Muslims in the coming war. If I would pray that prayer in public from this pulpit, they would have me arrested for inciting a riot and violence. But we have bought into this inclusion philosophy of political correctness to the point that it is stifling out the glory of the cross of Christ. This prayer was written by a mufti in Jerusalem, Sheikh Ibrahim Sobri, 2 weeks before September 11th. Now, I'm not a spiritual person. I'm actually a little suspicious of everybody that is. You make me nervous. I've been around too many granola people. Fruits, nuts, and flakes. I don't have many dreams. I don't have many dramatic spiritual experiences. If I do, it's usually because I had too much King's Pizza the night before. Yet, on the morning of September 11th, I had an experience that I must tell you today I shall never forget. I'd gone to bed at my usual time. I'd slept peacefully through part of the night. The next morning, I awoke from a deep sleep in a pool of tears. Now, I don't mean that I was somewhat tearful as though from a dream that had moved me. I mean that I was weeping violently as though grief had possessed my soul. It confused me and left me disoriented for a while. I wandered about the house. Only after trying to clear my mind did I finally make the decision that I could try to get to the office for an important meeting, but I couldn't stop weeping. I got in the office. I called Joni. I said, honey, you've got to pray for me. Moments after that, one of my staff came rushing into my office and told me to turn on the television. I couldn't believe what I saw. The first image that formed on my television screen is what I now know was the second aircraft to hit the World Trade Center. I knew then why my spirit was grieving and awakened me from a deep sleep in a pool of tears of intercession. When that horrible day of infamy occurred, people began saying, we live in a new world now. It'll never be the same again. They were trying to get their minds around the fact that such horrors must be a signal of a new era, that people would surely never feel safe again. And as right as they may have been about people never feeling safe again in our generation, they were wrong that this was anything new. The truth is, it was very old. It's a battle that has been raging for centuries. It simply crashed into our lives on 9/11. A war waged in nations around the world exploded in the serenity of our Western landscape. It was a war between Islam and Christian civilization. We shouldn't really have been surprised at all. The violence that had been escalating for years. For example, let me articulate a few of them for you. In 1979, the U.S. Embassy in Iran was stormed and American embassy staff held hostage for 400 144 days by Muslim extremists. In 1982, the United States Embassy in Beirut was bombed. In 1983, the United States Marine barracks in Beirut were blown up. In 1985, an Italian cruise ship, you'll remember, the Achille Lauro, was seized, and a 69-year-old American was killed. In 1986, a West Berlin discotheque frequented by U.S. servicemen was bombed. In 1988, another passenger jet, Pan Am Flight 103, was bombed. In 1993, the World Trade Center was bombed the first time. Shall I continue? 1995, 5 Americans were killed by a car bomb set by Muslim extremists. In 1996, a U.S. Air Force housing complex in Saudi Arabia was bombed. In 1998, the United States embassies in Kenya and Tanzania were bombed. Well, let me give you this. In 1998, not only were the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania bombed, in October of 2000, our warship, you'll remember, the USS Cole, was attacked again by Muslim extremists. John Walker Lind, an American who went by the Muslim name Suleiman, wound up training in an Al-Qaeda camp and fighting for the Taliban against our troops in Afghanistan. The D.C. sniper, John Allen Williams, took upon himself the name of John Allen Muhammad, indicating his ideological alignment with Islam. I can't begin to tell you how important it is that we understand the true nature of Islam, that we see it for what it really is. In fact, I'll tell you this, I do not believe our nation can truly fulfill its divine purpose until we understand our historical conflict with Islam. I know that this statement sounds extreme, but I'm not shrinking back from its implications. The fact is that America was founded, I'm going to stagger you right now, America was founded in part with the intention of seeing this false religion destroyed. And I believe September 11, 2001 was a generational call to arms that we can no longer ignore. Consider this evidence. Among other dreams, it was the defeat of Islam that spurred Christopher Columbus on as he sailed to the New World in 1492. He was a young boy when the devastating news of the fall of Constantinople to Muslim armies reached his land. It marked him for life. He grew into manhood surrounded by the tales of the Crusades into Muslim lands. When he determined to fulfill Marco Polo's dream and return to the east by sailing west, he did so in part to harvest the wealth of the New World to liberate the Old World from Islam. As he wrote to Isabella and Ferdinand from the Americas on his first voyage, I hope to God that when I come here from Castile that I will find gold in such quantities that within 3 years the sovereign will prepare for and undertake the reconquest of the Holy Land. I have already petitioned your highness to see to it that all the profits of my enterprise should be spent on the conquest of Jerusalem. And your highness smiled and said that the idea pleased him, and that even without the expedition they had an inclination to do it. Columbus dreamed of defeating the armies of Islam with the armies of Europe made mighty through the wealth of the New World. It was this dream that in part began the United States of America. What Columbus dreamed became the hope of later generations. The greatest theologian of the American colonial era and possibly of American history was Jonathan Edwards. In the History of Redemption, written in 1773, Edwards predicted, listen to this, in 1773, Jonathan Edwards predicted that a great revival would begin at the dawn of the 21st century, that it would begin in America, and that it would spell the end of Islam. That was 1773. I want to run you forward to 2001, and then forward September 11, 2001, and then forward to 2005. And if you can begin to catch the prophetic importance of what is going on from this